Many people are struggling with brain fog and fatigue. Mario, you're a leading researcher on water, and I'd love for you to share how the right type of water can help many people dealing with these issues, help them overcome some of these challenges.
It's a really interesting question. First of all, I would like to mention people usually don't even understand. They don't even comprehend the importance of water, of right kind of water for overall health. Because in our research, we realized that water can exist in more than several states. And when you bring water in this very particular coherent state, it can have powerful effects basically on any area of health. But you mentioned brain fog and metabolic health. We actually did double-blind placebo-controlled studies which proved more than significant increase in ATP levels in energy production of the body. We did double-blind placebo-controlled study where we proved more than significant rise in NAD levels. We did double-blind placebo-controlled studies in microbiome. Health of the microbiome is hugely important for metabolic health, for cognitive function, which people don't really understand, brain fog, and energy levels. So these are all really profound things that water can have powerful influence on. Just so you know, our research is like 15 years in the making, 50 plus scientists over three continents. We really went down the rabbit hole because we realized that there is something that water holds many secrets, let's call it that way. That we realized in our research that water currently exists in what we call a chaotic state. So it's still H2O, but H2O molecules in chaotic water are just moving randomly. They're crashing into each other constantly. But since all of this is happening on an atomic level, nobody's really aware of that. This chaos has a profound influence on our health and wellness. We realized that we can bring order into that chaos. We realized that we found a way to bring H2O molecules into a liquid crystalline state, liquid crystalline structure. When water enters into that particular state, its true power is being unleashed.
Hmm.
I like to kind of use an example of a light. When you take a light bulb of 5 watts, it will give you some light. But if you take 5-watt laser, so it's the same power, but it's coherent form of light, you can actually drill a hole through your table.
Wow.
So, in the same way, when you bring water in this particular state, it works tremendously on our biology. Early on, 15 years ago, we actually picked up a whole lab by a famous German scientist, Dr. Fritz Albert Popp. He developed this technology that can capture biophotons. So every living thing, every biological system exudes these tiny particles of light. And you need very sophisticated technology that can capture every single one. And we realized that when we watered plants with NLM water, with coherent water, that biophoton emissions, like they went through the roof. So our tomatoes, for instance, they exude between 60 and 200% more light.
Wow.
So the vitality of the produce is really phenomenal. So these are our early research. We had a large greenhouse in the Netherlands where we did all the research first on plants, and then we kind of took a leap on people and did all the double-blind placebo-controlled studies.
That is so fascinating. So you mentioned this chaotic water. So
Mhm.
people who are drinking, let's say, like tap water or even bottled water that's just not high quality, like I'm going to mention brands like Dasani, Aquafina, things that I personally avoid. This is very different than something like a what you call coherent water. With Analema, you guys are
Yes.
able to create this coherent water. And what is that doing at the cellular level? Like you mentioned the ATP study. I'd love for you to just unpack for those watching and listening, and they maybe have heard of the mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell.
Mm.
What role does ATP play there, and how does that help them with their brain fog? How does it help them with their energy levels?
So ATP is the primary energy currency of the cell. It's directly responsible for powering the majority of cellular processes inside of our body, including muscle contraction, nerve impulse transmission, biochemical reactions. Every heartbeat, every breath depends on ATP. So, but what most people don't understand, this is the brain fog connection, that the biggest, by far the biggest spender of ATP is our brain. 25% of all of our energy just go for one organ. For one neuron to send an impulse to a neighboring cell, it needs to hydrolyze 1 billion ATP
Mm.
molecules. And there are billions of neurons. So high levels of ATP have always been connected to higher cognitive performance. So that's like a direct connection there. If you have high ATP levels, your brain is going to function in an optimal way.
That is, I always call the brain the greediest organ of the body because to
Yeah,
your point, right? It's what 2% in weight, and it uses 20+% of the energy
yeah,
requirement. And I know that there are certain regions of the brain that have up to 2 million mitochondria in a single cell, which is crazy. So the cells that are the most metabolically active and most important for survival, which is the number one priority for the body, have the most concentration of mitochondria and then ATP production. So for sure the
yes,
brain, then we have like the heart, the ovaries, the testicles, the eyes, and then other cells might have a few hundred mitochondria compared to hundreds of thousands and even millions in some cases. And with ketosis, Mario, it's one of the first things people notice when they start doing keto, and I put them on a ketogenic sort of lifestyle, is that they feel like, oh my gosh, my brain fog is improving. I have more mental clarity. And that's because of the cellular energy that ketones help you produce. And you could do that with water as well, the right type of water. So, this study that you had,
exactly.
you did a double blind, placebo controlled study.
Double-blind
How did,
placebo-controlled
how did
study.
it work?
Yeah, it's really interesting. We actually employed luciferase, which is an enzyme that catalyzes light production in bioluminescent organisms. And due to its extraordinary sensitivity, you can very, very accurately measure ATP levels in humans. So, in the beginning of the study, we took a snapshot of ATP levels in the participants of the study. Then they drank 1.5 liters of lemon water per day without changing anything else in the world. So, they didn't change their exercise regime, they didn't change their diets, everything else stayed the same. And after 2 months, we did another snapshot of ATP levels to see whether something changed. And what we saw was 20% rise over the placebo
Mm,
in overall mitochondrial energy of the body. So, and we're not talking about Red Bull energy here.
yeah.
We're talking about actual mitochondrial energy. Implications of that are just phenomenal. So,
Oh,
if you give your body a couple of percent energy, it will use it in the because we have extraordinary intelligent bodies. We just give them a little bit more, they're going to do wonders with it. And especially if you when you calculate the placebo, and that's one third of your entire energy just goes up. So this is very palpable, people can actually feel it. And there is more to it. Scientists now agree that one of the key causes of cellular aging is a decline in mitochondrial function. And we proved that just by drinking this water, your mitochondrial function increases more than significantly.
mm.
And this has effects on metabolic health, on weight management, all of it. Because if you improve mitochondrial function, the key kind of thing that mitochondria do, they actually turn fats and sugar into energy. So if that system works, then all of the basic the fuel that we have is actually being turned into energy.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. That's exactly how we want our metabolism to work, in the way that our
Yes.
metabolism was designed, right? To use whatever
Yeah.
substrate is available for energy. And so many people, and there's a lot of disagreement in our space, right, Mario? We have, the people that are saying just do keto, carnivore, vegan, plant-based. There's a lot of disagreement, but what we can all agree to is that healthy mitochondria are the name of the game.
Yes.
However you get there, that will vary, but healthy mitochondria are the name of the game. And to your point, with the weight loss and the metabolic benefits of increasing cellular energy, when you increase cellular energy, it raises your basal metabolic rate, and you just burn more
Exactly.
calories just sitting on the couch, don't you?
Exactly. This is where I think that the science should go, because it's not about counting calories. If you increase the ability of your body to create energy, then it's not going to be people like people 30 years ago, the American diet didn't change. but people started to get fatter and fatter, and there is a reason for it. But we don't even kind of have to jump into that topic because it's a huge topic. But mitochondrial health is hugely important for basically any area of our body.
With the study, you said after 2 months, there was a 20%
Mhm.
increase in ATP production
Over the placebo, yeah.
over the
Mhm.
versus the placebo, yeah. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
did you measure prior to the 2-month mark or after that 2-month mark to see what was happening with ATP levels? I would be
No, no,
curious.
no. We designed the study before and after. It's
Got
very complex, and it costs a lot of money
it. I
to do the
imagine.
study properly. So we just did it before and we did it after, and this is what we did. But then we expanded on the NAD. But it just crossed my mind about you mentioned brain fog.
Yes.
So one our first study that we actually did on NLM water was actually brainwave study.
Mm,
For now, we have to actually take two steps back. So we realized that this water is an electromagnetic phenomenon. What people don't realize is that water is always going to pick up the most dominant frequency of its environment, whatever it is. So it's so critically important how we treat water. This is why people usually go just for the chemical side of things. I need to filter my water. But even if you take the toxin out, whatever it is, the information, the frequency of that toxin is still inside of the water.
mm.
And we are vibrational beings. So when you drink that, you actually introduce that information on the frequency level into your system, and it has an impact. But anyhow, since we realized that this water is an electromagnetic phenomenon, we wanted to see what's the like most electromagnetic part of human biology that we can very accurately measure. These are brainwaves.
Yeah.
This is something that we can measure through QEEG. So we did actually a golden standard study. We took two genetically identical twins and we put QEEG on their heads and we gave them some water to drink. Doctor administering the water didn't know which one was which, and twins didn't know which one was which. One had a couple of sips of regular water, the other one had a couple of sips of NLM water, and we monitored their brain waves. So as soon as the twin that took a couple of sips of regular water, we saw no change in the brainwave patterns. Everything stayed the same, just like you would expect. But this is where we were actually surprised tremendously. Almost as soon, we're talking about very fast. This was really, really, I'm not going to say that it was imminent, but it was extraordinarily fast. Almost as soon as when the twin that took a couple of sips of NLM water, there was an almost instant better connection between the left and the right hemisphere of the brain,
Mm.
an almost instant harmonizing effect on the brain waves. There is this delta coherence that started happening, which was really, really interesting to observe. And this was the first very powerful and irrefutable evidence that something biologically remarkable happens when people drink this water. We actually repeated the experiment 3 weeks later, and we gave an lemon water to the other twin. And we saw exactly the same phenomenon, while now the first twin that took a couple of sips of regular water, there was nothing. So the effects of this water on human biology and basically plant biology and animal biology are really remarkable. Even today, after so many studies that we did, it's still surprising and it's super exciting for us to kind of observe what happens there.
That is so fascinating. When you talk about, how people drink when we think about how people drink water, they're
Mhm.
typically drinking this kind of dead water, just regular filtered water. Even if you, to your point, if you remove some of the chemicals, it still has that frequency of the toxins, which is
Yeah.
interesting. But also, what is like EMF and radiation doing to our water? There's a lot of people who have, let's say, their cup of water right next to their phone, or in a house or a room where there's Wi-Fi. Like, what is Wi-Fi radiation doing to the water that we drink?
It's totally, totally cool that you asked this question because it actually brings us to the very beginning of the story. Because one of our founders Dolf Zonting, was the CEO of the biggest Dutch telecom, and he realized that there is a tremendous negative effect of EMFs happening to basically all biological systems. And we realized through our tests that, exactly like you mentioned, if you take glass of water and put it next to Wi-Fi router, the water is going to go crazy chaotic. And when you drink that, it has an effect on you. But it didn't stop there. We were the first. We were the first researchers that actually made a connection between the brainwaves and EMFs.
Mm.
So what we did, we actually had people just using the cell phone for 3 minutes, and we monitored their brainwaves. And every single time you use your cell phone, your brainwaves are actually the patterns are actually going chaotic. And what we did then, we gave to some regular water to drink, and to some we gave NLM water to drink. And those guys that drank, again, couple of sips of NLM water, their brain waves almost instantly went to green.
Wow.
While with the guys who drank regular water, this negative effect persisted for much longer. So yes, we even expanded on it, where we actually took water and we radiated it with 5G, and we watered plants with that water, and all the plants died,
Huh.
which is really kind of terrible to see, given how we are all swimming in this soup of 5G. But anyhow, we took the same treated water with 5G, and we used NLMA on it, and we watered with that same water with treated water, but same radiated water before. That we watered the plant, and the plant thrived. So everything happens from the electromagnetic. There are harmonic energies and fields and frequencies, and you have these EMFs which are not really harmonic.
Mhm.
So when you bring water back into its natural state, even though it has been radiated a second before, it still works wonders for the biological system. That's why it's so important. That's why we really feel that it's so important now, because the world is swimming, and we're not talking about just, land emitters. We're talking about Skynet.
Yeah.
We're talking about like thousands and thousands and thousands of satellite in low orbit, which are frying the earth with these waves.
Mm.
And these waves, again, I have to emphasize, which most people don't realize, they pass through clouds,
Mm.
and clouds of water, and that water then falls on the ground.
Mm.
So yeah, it's important part of our research. So thank you for mentioning, because we realize that there is a potential problem there.
Yeah, it's so interesting. With the topic of anti-aging and cellular health, NAD comes up a lot, and you mentioned NAD
Yeah.
a little earlier. Could you explain why it's important to understand what NAD is, how it works, and some of the research you've seen with your company and NAD levels?
Yeah, so NAD levels, everybody is now talking about NAD in the last couple of years. David Sinclair kind of brought, NMN, and how, why are so important. And NAD levels, for instance, I'm now 50 years of age. 25 years ago, I had double levels of NAD. And NAD is crucial. It's crucial for basically, for many biological processes. We're talking about energy production, DNA repair, cardiovascular health, metabolic health, weight management. We're talking about stem cell regeneration. So it's basically it's a fountain of youth inside of your body. It makes sure that all of the systems run optimally. And of course, it's very well established that high NAD levels lead to much longer lifespan.
Hmm.
That's why it's so important. That's why we went into the research. That's why we did double-blind placebo-controlled study where we measured NAD levels. And again, we did the same thing. We took a snapshot of NAD levels in the beginning of the study, and then after 2 months, we took another snapshot. People were again drinking 1.5 liters of lemon water per day without changing anything else in the world. So they didn't change their exercise regime. They didn't change their diets. Everything else stayed the same. And after 2 months, we took another snapshot to see what happened with NAD levels. And again, we saw more than significant rise in NAD levels.
That is awesome.
which
Well,
which coincides with all of this other studies that we were doing.
yeah, that's super cool. What percentage of the human body is made up of water?
This is interesting. Thank you for asking that question because usually we always learn in school that 70% of our body weight is water. That's very true. And that, even when you look at it, like 70% of us is water, is crazy. But when you look at it from the molecular point of view, 99% of all of our molecules are actually very light
Mm,
water molecules. Only 1% of our molecules are actually heavy other molecules than water.
wow.
If you can imagine, we are more water than the ocean.
That's
We're basically very clever H2O. It's crazy when you think of it, but I invite people, like, do the research. See, we are basically very clever H2O. When you realize that, it's very hard to ignore the importance of water. And then you realize there is, like, the water that I drink has a powerful effect on my entire biology.
mm,
And this is what our research clearly proved. When you change the water, your entire biology is going to follow. And we proved it short term, midterm, and long term. If you drink an lemon water, your health is going to change. And not only that, we proved it on animals, we proved it on plants.
mm,
The agriculture research is very, very, very important for us because we want to change how food is grown on this planet.
mhm.
I have to mention this study because it really kind of it really tells a story. So, since our whole technology is being manufactured in the Netherlands, and Netherlands is the most, like, developed agriculture country on the planet. 98% of all agriculture land is actually being used for agriculture.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So, and they're using big agri companies. They're using all kinds of toxins. The primary one is glyphosate,
Mhm.
which is a huge problem, and we can touch upon that.
Yes.
We definitely need to touch upon that. It really has high implications for overall of the health of overall planet. But anyhow, I just want to mention the study at hand. So we took completely destroyed, depleted piece of soil that was killed, so it was barren. You couldn't grow anything on it due to this constant use of glyphosate and other toxins. So we watered one part of it with regular water and one part with an lemon water, and then we did test what happens in the soil in the molecular level. So the part that was watered with regular water, we saw nothing. It was still dead completely. So you just couldn't do anything with it. But after just 2 months of watering the soil with NLM water, we saw huge explosion in the biodiversity of the microbiome
Hmm.
of the soil. We saw these colonies of bacteria, they started to show up, and they started to suck CO2 out of the atmosphere into the soil where it belongs.
Wow.
Total nitrogen in soil increased exponentially, and the whole nitrogen cycle improved exponentially. Within only 2 months, that piece of soil became fertile again.
Wow.
You can start to grow food on it. And there is even one more totally cool thing that we were really also surprised. Usually, when the rain falls, all of the nutrients and minerals go to the deeper layer of the soil. But when you water the soil with NLM water, there is a huge retainment of those minerals at the top layer where the plant can actually use it.
Hmm.
So it's really totally cool study.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. I want you to continue. I just wanted to add what you just said with the soil
Mhm,
quality and watering it
mhm.
with analima water for 2 months. That has huge implications on this big problem we have with us losing our topsoil. They say it's estimated, I don't know what
Exactly.
year, but we're supposed to lose our topsoil after a certain amount of cycles, right? This has huge
Yes.
implications about that.
60.
60
Yes.
cycles. Yeah, that's
This
incredible.
yeah. This is really, really, people don't understand the how critical this problem is. It really is from so many levels. I mean, people don't connect the microbiome of the soil to microbiome of humans, and there is a tremendous connection.
Hmm.
What people don't understand is glyphosate is actually an antibiotic,
Yeah.
and it's being like produce. Plants are being drenched in this thing
Yeah.
tremendously. They did a study like 97% of Americans are peeing out glyphosate daily. So the
Shiz.
saturation of it is extraordinary. And again, to come back to the whole story about microbiome. So what do when you take antibiotic, what does it do?
Anti-life.
It kills bacteria. Yes. And when you're constantly introducing this antibiotic through glyphosate, through pesticides, it destroys your microbiome. We like to think of ourselves as single species. Nothing could be further from the truth. We're living in symbiosis with trillions of these microorganisms, and this equilibrium is extraordinarily important for our health. People don't know, but there are up to 300 times more genes, microbial genes, than human
Mm.
genes in human body. And this equilibrium, this harmony is hugely important for our health and wellness. Science has now connected the state of our microbiome not just to our digestive health. We're talking about immune health. We're talking about cardiovascular health. We're talking about skin health. People are talking about serotonin and how important it is for our mood, but they don't know that up to 95% of serotonin is being created in our gut by our microbiome, by the bacteria in our microbiome, and then being delivered to our brain through the gut brain axis.
Mm.
So the state of your microbiome determines the quality of your mood. Isn't that fascinating?
Oh.
So, so anyhow, to connect everything back to the water, we did a double-blind, placebo-controlled study where we measured what is called the dysbiosis index of the microbiome. So this biosis index measures the degree of deviation within the microbiome, taking into account all the different bacterial phyla and species and their weighing factor. Again, it was the same design. We took a snapshot of the dysbiosis index, and then people were drinking 1.5 liters of lemon water per day without changing anything else in the world. Then again, we measured dysbiosis index, and we saw 17% improvement on the dysbiosis index. But more importantly, we saw sharp decline in bad bacteria,
Mm.
and we saw rise in positive
Wow.
bacteria. And we were so inspired by this study, but that we are now actually we're at the very end. We wanted to do the DNA sequencing of an entire microbiome because we wanted to create a whole tree of effects, because science has pinpointed the exact pathway by which any species of bacteria has an effect on any area of health. And now we're going to have the entire tree of effects, and I'm super excited. We're at the very end of the study, so I'm super excited to see what will happen there. This pilot microbiome study that I just mentioned was just the door opening for this one,
Mm.
so I'm super excited about that to
That's
see.
cool.
Yeah, it really is cool.
If you're following a low carbohydrate keto diet or carnivore diet, this is one of the most important tips. I see a lot of people who struggle with keto and carnivore, and the reason they struggle is because they are losing too many electrolytes. They're becoming mineral depleted. Every cell in your body needs minerals to function, to produce energy, which helps you burn fat and feel good. My favorite minerals and electrolytes are from Beam Minerals. These are fulvic and humic compounds that are bioavailable, that have over 70 minerals in them. It tastes like water. They're carnivore friendly. Let me explain why. There are no anti-nutrients in them. It does not break a fast. As a matter of fact, it could support your fasting window, and it's been a game changer for my health, and I recommend it to all my students. Head over to beamminerals.com. Use the coupon code Azadi at checkout, my last name, Azadi at checkout, to get a nice discount. Beamminerals.com, coupon code is Azadi.
Yeah, and on the topic of glyphosate, Mario, you're right. It's a
Mhm.
huge issue. I know that Italy, for example, banned glyphosate in 2016, and it's no coincidence that Italy doesn't have the diabetes epidemic that we do, the obesity epidemic. Now, I'm not saying they're completely healthy, but when you compare their health in regards to
Yes.
obesity and diabetes versus the US. It's night and day. It's a fraction of what we have here. And it makes sense they've banned glyphosate, different red dye products in 2016, and other countries are finally following suit. Unfortunately, the United States have not. And I know Dr. Stephanie Seneff and Nancy Swanson have amazing research from MIT on strong correlations between the applications of glyphosate in the US in the late 80s to dementia, diabetes, Alzheimer's, all these conditions. And it shows it tracking pretty closely. And we know what it does to just disrupt the gut microbiome. You explained it very well. Open up our tight junctions, lead to leaky gut, autoimmune disease, and we can't escape it. I eat organic as much as possible, right? But even organic crops have it. The rainfall has it. It's everywhere. So let me ask you this: with glyphosate being unavoidable these days, as you said, 97% of Americans are peeing it out. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's crazy. Go
Yeah.
go ahead.
I mean, it's so crazy. You have these crops that really are susceptible, and there are ones that aren't so. But for instance, strawberry.
Hmm.
I don't know if you're aware of this. If you take strawberry, and they did actual study on it, so it's not. I'm not making anything up. You take strawberry and you just crush them. You have juice, and there is so much glyphosate in it that you can spray it on
Jeez.
and it will have the exactly the same effect. You can imagine the saturation of it, and when you're eating it, all of this ends up in your
Oh
system.
my gosh.
So,
Is that
and I have
conventional
to, yeah,
conventional strawberries, not organic that you're referring to?
not organic, yeah,
Okay,
conventional. This is just
got
for
it.
conventional, but this is the problem where glyphosate is so spread all over the place.
Mhm.
It's just like you mentioned, you're eating organic. It's so very hard to find places that are protected, that are so remote that the glyphosate will not reach it.
Yeah.
That's the main challenge. And I have to say to you, like, I travel to America for work and for everything very, very, very often, and the number one challenge for me, the number one challenge is the food.
Mhm. Yeah.
I can't eat it more than a couple of days.
Wow.
It's actually very hard, and I'm trying to find organic places, and then I can get by. But it's really when you come to Europe, you realize the difference in food. It really is a big one. It's not even kind of a slight one. You really can kind of so that's why we want to change how food is grown, not only in America but everywhere on the planet. Because if you use this water, this is also something that I have to mention. So we're not talking about just microbiome. One farmer who has actually picked up our whole greenhouse in the Netherlands, he's growing this kind of cucumbers, and usually this type of cucumbers, it will give out fruit yield 10 to 12 weeks in a year, and that's it. This is kind of normal natural cycle. With analemma water, he's at 24 weeks.
Wow.
So he doubled the yield just by using the water.
Oh my
So
gosh.
plants really react, any biological system, this is what we proved in our studies, really react phenomenally to this water.
That is so cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we actually created agriculture units. We want to bring it to the governmental level,
Yes.
because if we do, then all of the crops, everything will change. We're not going to. This is also something which is really interesting. The effect of an lemon water is progressive. We actually grown tomatoes, then we took the seeds out and replanted it for 3 generations. And after 3 generations, you almost don't need to use any pesticide,
Wow.
because the plant becomes so resilient that it actually really, to any kind of stress, we did a study on it that it's going to be published very soon. Plants on analemma water, they resist any form of stress.
Hmm.
We actually created a short-term drought. We did all kinds of things to see how the plant behaves, and results were phenomenal.
That is so interesting. Wow, this is such a game changer. Would analema water be useful to clean our fruits and vegetables in to get rid of glyphosate?
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't do any studies on it, but the key thing with this water, it improves the ability of your body to detox.
Mhm.
So it's not that it will take what the study that we did on soil is where we took a completely destroyed piece of soil and we revived it. But in that particular period, we didn't use glyphosate on it. We
Ah,
just used NLM water. So the glyphosate wasn't reintroduced. So I cannot, from the science point of view, I cannot speak about it because we didn't do study on it.
yeah,
But
fair.
what we know, yeah. So, but what we know, so I wouldn't go that far. I would always say to people, if you can eat organic, please do. It will make a tremendous effect on your health and wellness.
Yeah, agreed. And there's the environmental working group has their clean 15 and dirty dozen, right? So look those
Yes.
up, and for sure, the dirty dozen you want to make sure that is organic every time. The clean 15, they're not as loaded with glyphosate. I mean, always want to do organic when you can, but if you're doing the clean 15 and it's not organic, you're a little bit safer. I know that coffee, corn, wheat, soy are the top crops that have the most glyphosate. When I was interviewing Dr. Zach Bush many years ago on my podcast, he was mentioning to me that the average California wine has about 64 different herbicides and pesticides in it. It is just absolutely insane. Mario, I want to talk about your water. For those who are listening on the podcast and not watching, we will explain this in the way where you still get it, but it's not a filtration system. It's very different. I was
No.
actually, when I first heard about it, I was like, wait, what? It's like something I mix in my water and it changes the structure. So this is what it comes in. I just got mine. Do you call it a wand? Is that an accurate name for it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So the Analima wand, and I open it up, and you could kind of see what it looks like. So what am I holding up right here?
So now we're actually going deep dive into the whole science. Remember I mentioned that water always picks up the most dominant frequency of its environment.
Hmm.
That's why it's so important how we treat water. When we realized this in our research, our whole quest was to create the most dominant positive frequency water there is, because we knew if we find it, if we would expose any other water to it, since water always picks up the most dominant frequency of its environment, all the water would become it.
Mm.
So what you have in the wand is what we call the mother water. It takes one whole year for us to create the
Wow.
mother water. It has 5 stages that water needs to pass through to actually enter into this particular state. And once it passes the 5th stage, it actually never goes back.
Huh.
The water
Never goes
always
back.
stays, never
So
goes
this
back. We
last
tested it now for seven consecutive years. After just one treatment, it never for a second went out of the state of coherence. So this is the thing: if you have just one wand and you protect it, because you need to treat it like a jewel. If you protect it, it will create coherent water for life.
whoa. When you say protect it, like what do you mean? I know it comes with instructions, but like don't damage it, keep it away from like light and what else?
No, light is not a problem.
Okay, light's
But the
fine.
only thing is, it's so you see that mother water is inside.
Yep.
So there is a holder and then is a crystal vial. This crystal vial is pretty thin. So this crystal vial has twofold purpose. One, of course, to create barrier between the mother water inside and rest of the water. But more importantly, crystal is a superconductor. It allows the frequency of mother water to pass through without any loss.
Hmm.
So in effect, when you take the wand and you put it in the water and you swirl it, any H2O molecule, chaotic H2O molecule that we talked about, any H2O molecule that comes into close proximity to the mother water, since water always picks up the most dominant frequency of its environment, it starts to mimic its exact structure.
Wow.
So in an effect, after 30 seconds of swirling, you get a glass of mother water.
Okay, so
And
I'm
when you
gonna
drink
do
it,
this right
then
now.
all the effects. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I have about 6 ounces of water. This is Mountain Valley spring water, so it's still clean water, but it's not, structured. So you say mix it in here for about 30 seconds is what you're saying?
30 seconds.
Okay.
Exactly.
So as I do this, you could explain this is, um, the mother water is mixing with my regular water, and it's creating this
Yes.
this coherent, structured water
Coherent structure.
that now is
Exactly. So
more
H2O
bioavailable.
molecules, yeah, H2O molecules are, colloquially speaking, joining hands.
Huh.
So they start to move in unison. So it actually becomes one, so to speak. It's no longer because when H2O molecules are chaotic, they move into each other, they're crashing into each other. There is no unity there. But when you bring the water in this particular state, it becomes like it's one. It moves, all the molecules move together.
That's
And
so
through this
cool.
unique process, water becomes empowered.
I'm gonna chug all of this right now. It doesn't change the flavor if anybody's watching. It tastes the same, but it's changing the
Well, this is also
Oh,
very
does it
interesting.
change the flavor? We
Very, very much. I mean, when you need to kind of, what I would say that 95% of people, they see the difference almost immediately. But you have to do the taste test, because
I haven't
otherwise
done that.
you're not going to perceive it. But if you take 2 glasses of water, which you know is the same water, and you treat one, and then you taste one and taste the other, and then you will see. I love this story. When I was in Dr. Mindy Peltz's podcast,
Yeah.
I love her. She's an
Yeah.
amazing,
She's a great friend
amazing,
of mine. She's amazing.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know her. So anyhow, you know that her sister is also very accomplished, a doctor.
Mhm.
I think it's her doctorate's for Stanford or Harvard. I'm not sure. But anyhow,
Stanford, I
when
believe.
she
Yeah.
saw Mindy, yeah, when she saw Mindy swirling, it was like, "What are you doing there?" And then they decided to, let's do a taste test. And her sister, who was totally skeptical of the whole thing, for 5 times in a row, she said, "Well, this is the one. How can that be? This
Wow.
is it. When the structure changes, when the electromagnetic state changes, we are electromagnetic beings. So I don't know if I'm going to call it taste. People usually immediately kind of sense there is something different to it. But as I mentioned, this brainwave study, after a couple of sips of NLM water, instant better connection between the left and the right hemisphere
Mm,
of the brain, and the instant harmonizing effect, brainwave pattern, you enter into delta coherence.
mm.
So this is something which is very palpable, not just as a taste, but as an experience.
Yeah, fascinating. I know what I'm gonna be drinking during all my podcasts before I hit the stage and speak on
Mhm,
stage. It's gonna be this water.
mhm.
By the way, there's a link and a coupon code for anybody who wants to get this wand, the Analima wand. We'll drop the link below the YouTube video and also in the podcast notes. And we also have a coupon code, which is freedom, to get 10% off your wand if you want to go get it and check it out. You have a lot of your research on your website as well, correct?
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
So we'll put that there. Now that you said that, and it might be the placebo effect, as I drank it, it kind of felt like the water was, how do I put this? Softer? Like it felt
Yeah,
okay.
smoother. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And you can
smoother. Yeah.
actually see that the viscosity of it actually also changes.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do a taste test though, because this might be placebo now that you put it in my mind. But that is,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Please do. I always invite people. What's the fastest little experiment anybody can do
yeah.
is, if you have your wand, of course, then you take 2 basil plants, okay,
Uh huh.
and you water one basil plant with regular water and one basil plant with lemon water, okay, and after 3 weeks of watering, you then stop the watering altogether. And you can even create a stressor for them. You can increase the heat. You can do something to them that would usually have a detrimental effect on the plant. That's why I love the heat, because a basil plant is very, very, very delicate. So if you leave it on high heat, after a very short period of time, it's going to shrivel down, it's going to blacken. And I've actually did this on many podcasts and invite people all over the planet to do this, and we received so many images where this is very visual.
Wow.
You see the difference, how the plant that was the basil plant that was watered with regular water, how it shrivels and blackens down, and the NLM one actually stands tall. But you know what's
Wow.
interesting? Even after a while, it will also start to come down. But if you just sprinkle a couple of drops of NLM water to it, the ability of the plant to really goes back to its vitality is really staggering. We actually wanted to do time lapse videos on it,
Yeah.
because it's visually so impressive.
That is
I
so
was
cool.
actually I was so inspired by the whole this whole study came about because in my summer house, it was really hot, and I had a basil plant and I had to leave for a week. So the plant wasn't watered for a week, and usually if you don't water on that particular heat a plant, it just dies. And when I came back, basil plant was alive and kicking.
Wow.
So then, we did the actual, and we are going to publish that study as well, the basal plant study, that because we were inspired by that experiment, and then we just extrapolated and made an actual scientific experiment out of it.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, I'm gonna when my friends come over, I'm gonna have them do the taste test. I'm not gonna let them know which one is which, and I'm gonna get their feedback.
Totally,
Yeah,
totally, and it's a cool party trick. It's a
yeah,
cool party trick because you
totally.
take this wand out and you're just
Bring it,
playing with
bring
it.
it to dinners, right? Yeah, that's so cool.
Exactly, exactly.
Now, there's a
I
lot.
have to mention, yeah, please, please. Mhm.
No, no, mention. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say that the wand is actually first application that we came out with, because we wanted to offer this to the world as fast as possible. Now we actually offer several things. We offer garden enema. So if you have your own garden and if you want
Oh,
to
wow,
grow the best produce on the planet
wow.
with the highest nutrient density and vitality and resistance to stress, this is the way to go if you have your own garden. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is we created whole house enema.
You have. Okay, that's
So
cool. Tell me
yes,
about that.
so you can install in the piping system of your house, then you don't have to swirl or
So
anything
you could
wherever you
shower
open your
with it,
faucet.
wash your hands with it,
Everything.
just bathe in
And
it.
why am I mentioning this? Because we were so kind of excited by the concept, because we were thinking, okay, 99% of our molecules are water. And we were thinking, what would happen if people would take baths in lemon water for 20, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Since water always picks up the most dominant frequency of its environment,
Hmm.
what would happen if we would just lay down in water for half an hour? So we actually connected to Hydrate Spa, my dear friend David Perez and Dr. Greg Lane, since they have equipment to measure various vitals before and after. We actually did 100 people study with them. We measured
Wow.
cardiac output, stroke volume, blood viscosity, and most importantly, heart rate variability.
Oh, yes.
And every single person in the study experienced improvement in every single marker.
Wow.
The minimum improvement in heart rate variability after half an hour of taking a bath in it was 30%. That's
Wow.
minimum improvement in heart rate variability.
That's huge.
That's huge. Yeah, yeah. So we are now like inspired by that study. We're expanding on it. We want to do all kinds of study on just people taking baths. So not just even drinking water,
Yeah.
but just taking baths. Because as I mentioned, this water is an electromagnetic phenomenon. So I mean, if you take half an hour, if you take a bath for half an hour, up to a liter of that water will be absorbed in your body. But more importantly, something electromagnetically happens. That's why we saw such an improvement in heart rate variability, which is purely electromagnetic in nature.
That is fascinating. Heart rate variability is really important to increase, right? It gives you that nice balance of
Yes.
sympathetic, parasympathetic, something I track on a continuous basis. I'll be curious to see as I drink the water more frequently. I'm not bathing in it yet, but drinking it to see what it does to my HRV as my own little experiment. Um,
Yes.
there's a lot of people
We
who
haven't we haven't done a study on that,
that would be cool.
but we
Yeah.
kind of wanted to measure like when you lay down in water, what it does. But yeah, we have to do the study on that as well. On drinking the water and heart rate, we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, well, I'll do my own little experiment as I drink it consistently. How much on average should I drink each day? That study with the 20% increase in ATP, were they drinking a liter and a half? Is that what you said?
Liter and a half. Yeah. So this is what we're sticking by because this is the science that we did on. I drink only NLM water, so I don't drink any other water than that. But for the purpose of the study, if people want to know that they are actually getting the results that we got in our studies, then it's a liter and a half of NLM water per day.
That's great. And what I love about this as well is that you could take it with you when you travel. So I travel a lot. Tomorrow
Yes.
I'm flying to
Mm,
Connecticut to speak at an event. So I'm going to be taking this is my new thing that I'm gonna take with me when I
yes. Yeah.
travel.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a lot of people who have pets. I have 3 cats and a dog, and I love them. My dog's sleeping right here behind me. Any research or thoughts on using this in the pets' water?
Yes, most definitely. So we are actually creating what we want to do is actually create a special kind of how do you say what's the word from where dogs are drinking water.
Like a dog bowl or
Dog bowl. Yeah.
yeah,
So
or
we're
like
creating
a
a special
fountain, like a
bowl.
fountain.
Yeah, where we're going to have an enema inside.
Wow. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That'll be one of your
yeah,
first
because we
customers
had
there.
phenomenal results on animals. One of our founders, Dr. Eric Larker, he is actually veterinarian, and he was using NLM water on animals for years and years.
Hmm.
And for instance, I can share a couple of his anecdotes. When
Please.
there were one stable, I believe it was, I don't know, it was pigs. I'm not sure which animals, but they had huge issues with health. So they were spending so much money on veterinary medicines, and they just couldn't solve the problems there. It was just continuous. And they approached Eric, and Eric just gave them, okay, just use the water, just feed them this water, nothing else. Let's see what happens. Within 1 month, all of the problems went away.
Wow.
Then we repeated that with chickens. So there are so many things that we were doing with this water. And what I love about animals is, with humans you always have to do double blind placebo controlled study. With animals,
There's no
there is no
placebo.
placebo.
Yeah.
It either works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
So this is also a kind of a cool thing. But we are always investing in all kinds of studies. We actually want to do DNA methylation test
Ooh.
on animals. We did this worm study, which proved that the lifespan is going to increase by 15%. But we want to increase on it, so we're going to do DNA methylation test on animals, so that the owners know if they feed this water to their pets, that they are actually going to live longer. Actually, on humans, we did a biological age test, glycan age. I don't know if we don't even have enough time. But anyhow, to cut the long story short, every person in the study experienced between 1 and 12 years of
Wow.
biological age regeneration within 3 months. We asked the
Within
glycan age,
three
what is the
months.
within 3 months? Yes.
Oh my god. Okay, well, I'm gonna do some experiments with that. I've done.
But
Yeah.
just so you know, there was one person in the study that experienced. That person was the old. He's like, his biological age was really bad, so he experienced the biggest. But most people experience, let's say, between 1 and 3 years, which is
That's
huge within
that's
only 3 months.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that's significant by any standard. But what I love about it is that the person that had like really the worst results in biological age, they had the highest improvement.
Wow, that is so cool. Hey, do you have like maybe 7 more minutes to chat with me, or do you have to run?
No, 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 I'm here. No
Okay,
worries.
cool. Cool. I wasn't sure. I know it's later for you. Hey, I want to just briefly interrupt the video you're watching to share something with you. One of my favorite companies that I use for health and longevity and biohacking is a company called Bond Charge. And they have a whole range of incredible products, including the blue light blocking glasses you see me wear right now. But one of my favorite products from them is an infrared sauna blanket. Sauna blanket works by raising your heart rate to a workout or a training session. So you burn more calories while you're actually lying down and relaxing. Also, it's going to cause you to sweat. And one method of flushing out toxins from your body is through sweat. There's also one of my favorite benefits, this endorphin release. Every time I get out of the sauna blanket, I feel like I just got a 60-minute massage. So it's easy to set up. It's super convenient. Head over to bondcharge.com/keto camp. And if you use the coupon code KETOCAMP at checkout, you'll get 15% off your sauna blanket. And actually, any of their products are 15% off with that code. All right, let's get back to today's video. I'm just thinking about how I would use this for my dog right now with the wand, because I don't want to necessarily put it in his bowl and contaminate it and put it in my water. So, would I have like a separate bowl for him, mix the water with the wand, and then pour?
What I would do, you know what you can do? You can take a 2-liter pitcher
Okay,
and you make it coherent.
got
And
it.
then you use it for yourself, and then you just pour it to him, and then the water is clean. This is how I'm using it. So, with pitchers, it's very easy. And very soon, well, this is something also that I have to say. We're so super excited we wanted to make a state of the art filtration system and make the water coherent. And we were working on it for a while now, and in a couple of months we're going to come out with the state of the art filtration system,
Wow.
which will take out everything you actually don't want in water, including microplastics, including pharmaceuticals,
Yeah.
the whole shebang. and we're going to make the water coherent. So it's going to be the ultimate water treatment system on the planet.
That's
You
sick.
just buy it, and it's just, I'm super excited about that. So we
Yeah.
were working on it for really a longer period of time, and now it's getting very close. So I'm super enthusiastic about that, to offer that to the world, because it's really going to be a huge thing. Then you don't even have to kind of go and, because it preserves minerals. So New York, usually people go for RO, reverse osmosis, but
Uh-huh.
reverse osmosis kills water.
Yeah.
So you need to kind of bring minerals in, you need to revitalize it. But with this, you actually keep what's good in the water, and you take all the bad out. And you then bring it into coherent state, and you have the best of both worlds.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I love that. I'm excited for that as well. Dr. Emoto and his work, his book, Hidden Messages of Water. I'd love for you to share a little bit about what he's done with his research and how these water molecules within our cells change structure and different shapes depending on our environment and words and thoughts, etc. I'd love for you to share on that.
Thank you so much for that question, because Dr. Emoto was one of the pioneers. He was one of the first scientists that actually shown to the world in a great way there is something magical in water that we're just not perceiving. He actually showed that that your intention can change the water tremendously.
Hmm.
Just like I mentioned, water always picks up the most dominant frequency of its environment. And when a person, we are electromagnetic beings, we are extraordinary in so many ways. When you focus your attention on water, whatever you're putting there, it's going to change that water tremendously. That's why all the ancient spiritual traditions, they always bless their water before they drink it. And that's why in ancient spiritual traditions, you bless your food, because you're literally changing the electromagnetics of your food. And when you introduce the food into your system, it changes your body in a profound way. So this is what Dr. Masaru Emoto showed. And I love that he actually invited people to do their own experiment.
Hmm.
He actually boiled some rice, and he took it, and he took the same rice and put it in two bowls. And he came every single day to one bowl and expressed all the loving and beautiful emotions to it. And to the other one, he came every single day and expressed all the negative emotions to it. And after a week, then he saw what actually happened. So the bowl of rice, and it was the same rice, the only difference was the water. It actually took in the water. So the water was the one that actually picked up the frequency, the vibration that it was exposed to. So the bowl of rice that had beautiful emotions expressed to it had the beautiful fermented smell of rice, and you could actually eat that rice. While the other one had visual signs of decay, it was rotting and you couldn't touch it and it was smelling bad. So it's the same rice. The only thing that was different was the emotions that were expressed to it.
Wow.
Everything is energy. That's why I always say, like, one of the best, the most, I'm really admire Nikola Tesla. He's one of the greatest scientists of all time. He said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Yeah.
And what's the connection to water? Water is a broadband absorber, receiver, and transmitter of energy, frequency, and vibration, and therefore is at the very heart of biology. This is how water teaches us why we should be kind.
Mm.
Because whatever energy you send out, you are literally changing another biological system in front of you. That person, if you're expressing negative emotions to them, you're changing the molecular structure of their body. Then it becomes a responsibility. When you know this, then it becomes important how you're showing up.
It's beautiful, powerful. Speaking on that topic, the final question is
Mhm.
ties into exactly what you just shared. I always lecture about this. I call it a vitamin, Mario. And I have a new book coming out next year called Metabolic Freedom with Hay House. It'll be published in June of 2025. And I have a whole chapter on how your thoughts could heal your body and heal your metabolism and help you feel incredible, right? And part of that is this vitamin I call vitamin G, which is gratitude, like the practice and expression of
Mm.
gratitude, which goes right hand in hand with what you just shared, like the emotion and love. So the final question I always ask my guests, and I want to ask you right now, what do you have vitamin G gratitude for today, Mario? What do you have gratitude for today?
Well, I have gratitude first for you. Thank you, brother, for having me here, for allowing me to share this beauty with the world. Because this is, you know, when you witness something like this, you just want to share it. So thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. This is something also comes a little bit back to the water. I don't know if we have some time.
Yes, please.
So I want to share a study that we did early on, which will really connect everything that we're talking about now. So early on, we actually took a study where we watered seeds. Seed is this tiny, tiny, tiny piece of life, and we watered some with regular water and some with lemon water. And we monitored biophoton emissions, whether something would change. So the seeds that were watered with regular water, nothing happened. But the seeds that were watered with analemma water, we started seeing these peaks and valleys of biophoton emissions. Like this tiny piece of life started to breathe in and out life in a longer form.
Hmm.
And we couldn't figure out what was happening there. We connected to other scientists, and after a while, we realized that it started to follow the tides. So analemma water connected this tiny piece of life to its larger electromagnetic environment. It connected it to circadian rhythm
Wow.
of nature. This upgrades your entire communication system. Why am I saying this in the context of gratitude? Most people don't perceive what they should be grateful for. And when you're connected within yourself and you're connected to your larger electromagnetic environment, you perceive how fortunate you are. You perceive the value of life itself. Then it's hard not to be grateful.
Mm.
And when you're truly grateful, your biology blooms.
Hmm.
You don't need anything more. So thank you for saying that. And it's so important that you wrote a whole chapter in the book about it. Because gratitude, I'm going to recite a poem by Rumi. I love this. Rumi is extraordinary. He like, wear the gratitude like a cloak, and it will feed every corner of your life.
It's great. It's beautiful. I love that.
It just, it just says everything
Mm. Mario,
to perceive life. Yeah.
If you enjoyed that conversation, you're gonna love the recent conversation I had with the mineral master, Caroline Allen, and the mitochondria and how it uses minerals to produce energy and burn fat and feel good.
There are four main reasons that we are dealing with mineral deficiency. The first is that our food supply is lacking in minerals. And